it's Clarissa here. We are back in the limelight. We're giving you a couple of seconds to get on here, having some little glitches as well, but we're glad to see you back here with us. And we love our good friends over at domesticshelters.org here at In the Limelight TV. We've got Ashley Rumschlag back on with us. She is the VP of Digital Marketing.
Digital Services.
Digital Services.
Yes,
I always
got
say
it.
that. I knew you're the VP. You're the VP of Digital Services, and it's so good to have you back on. I love our chats, and most people do, because they learn a lot more about domestic violence than I really think meets the eye or ever hits the media. So let's get started with how is it that you can help a domestic abuse victim if they really don't want to leave, and you would really like for them to leave because you know that they're in a really bad place. Is it your place? Is it not your place? Is it kind of butt out? It's none of your business, or is it, hey, this is my business because you're being hurt?
Right. It's a really important thing to talk about because, obviously when someone that we know is being abused, it's hard to just sit there and do nothing. But sometimes doing some things will put them in more danger. Yeah. So it's really important to listen to what they are saying, allow them to talk and to, without judgment, without judging what they're saying or how they reacted in the situation. Because, as in many situations, you don't know how you'll react yourself until you're in that situation. So it's important to listen, show empathy, and just be a kind of a rock of support for them, because the biggest thing that an abuser is going to do is try to isolate them from their friends and family. And that just gets them one step closer to having that total control over that person.
So if you're a friend, if you're a next door neighbor, if you are family, and you know this is happening, do nothing.
So to do, what can you do? That's a great way to kind of poke at it further. Obviously, it's important to understand what you shouldn't do, and what kind of what should risks are. But it's important to give them resources in a safe manner. So make sure if you go to domesticshelters.org, search by your zip code, find some nearby shelters, and in a safe way, obviously in a way that the abusive partner can't find out, kind of catch on that they are wanting to leave the relationship. Give them that information and just let them know that help is out there. So it's really important to do it in a safe way, like I mentioned, but make sure that they understand that there are resources available to them. This isn't okay. This isn't normal. This isn't just the way love is sometimes. This is, abuse. So it's important to educate them, give them resources, and make sure that they understand that, they have a way out.
Yeah. And that's a really good point that you make, because a lot of times I've heard in the past, well, it's just his way of loving me. Right. And I mean, I just love him so much. I couldn't imagine my life without him.
Right. And that kind of goes back to trauma bonding, which is something we could talk about in another episode too. But it's basically, this idea that, because of the trauma that they've gone through, they do feel genuine feelings of love for this person, even though they put them through such horrific things. So, that's another factor to why, they haven't even thought about leaving.
Yeah. And I do want to remind everybody, domesticshelters.org has upwards of 2,800 shelters all over the United States. Again, some in Canada and growing. With your ear to the ground now, especially during these really difficult last 5 or 6 months with COVID and more victims being at home and not being able to get out as easily, this is another really great way to be getting the help that they need. Domesticshelters.org is nothing closer than a phone call away. It definitely, and the amount, and I say this every time we get together, the amount of information that is on the website itself this week, I think you had a newsletter, your newsletter said something about how children now, when they're going back to school, can deal with the trauma, possibly PSTD that they've experienced as they're going back in now to a social type situation. I mean, there's every kind of article, every kind of resource And it's just so, it's just a great place to be going to. There's a blueprint, there's a plan. And certainly, Ashley, also, I think that it's always so heartening to have somebody on the other end of a phone line.
Right. And which is why we highly encourage people to reach out to their local advocates by using that search function that I mentioned. Type in your address or your zip code or city, state, and you can connect with those people, at the organizations in your area, because they're going to know what resources are available to you. They're going to be able to help you customize a safety plan that's going to keep you, and if you have children, your children safe as well.
Yeah. Lots of times we talk about animals too. Some of the shelters do take animals as well, which is really a very good thing to know, because children really, especially hate leaving behind their dogs, their cats, and whatever else. And I'm not saying every shelter does that, but certainly some of them do, and that's another plus. I mean, it could be as quick as you could be somewhere else tonight, if not tomorrow, in some circumstances and in some cases. So, I mean, it's one of those kind of things that I love to continue to talk about, because I hate to think of women and children in harm's way. I know you do as well, and that's why I love getting domestic shelters on the show, and I know that's why you love doing what you're doing as well. When is it, if at all, that family members, friends?
Looks like we're having some technical difficulties here.
So sorry, we're back. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I kicked off the internet. Sorry about that.
No worries. I made a little announcement. I think we're having.
Did you? Oh, yeah, it's okay. Thanks for that. I'm back. Yeah,
I was hoping I wasn't the one that got kicked off.
So here, minding my own business. And I got cut off. I got kicked off the internet.
Such is life.
Such is life. When is it, if at all, appropriate or proper, or the moment, or your duty as a friend, as a family member, as a neighbor, to call the police?
Right. So it comes back to that, piece at the beginning that I mentioned, where, the survivor is the only one that kind of knows what is safe for them and what is a good next step for them. But of course, if someone is in immediate danger, if because of your involvement in the situation, you are in immediate danger, call the police. Trust your gut in that situation, but know that there are some risks involved. For example, if you only heard about the abuse, you didn't witness it, you're just kind of assuming that something's going on. The police aren't likely to kind of take those kinds of calls seriously. But also, it could be the survivor's way of saying, hey, now's not the time to involve the police. I'm still gathering evidence. I'm still, managing the situation. But there will be a time in the future. And so referring to them and kind of getting their thoughts on when is a good time to connect with the police.
Yeah. And the other question I had for you is, what precautions should people take if they decide to turn to the web for help? And I'm going to go with one could be maybe just go to the computer at the library. If the libraries are open, that's a really great way, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So using a public computer, whether that be at a library or just a friend's computer, someone that you trust and is on your side, to use that, to find that information and to search for where to turn next.
Right.
Obviously, we're going to encourage you to visit domesticshelters.org for that information, but there's tons of resources out there. The best thing you can do is educate yourself and kind of have an idea of what's going on.
Right.
But beyond using a computer that is public, or just it's one that your abuser wouldn't have access to, making sure that you're kind of clearing your history. It's not 100% foolproof, so there are ways around it. But clearing your browser history, clearing your search history on either Google or Bing or whatever search engine you use, and then clearing your cookies as well. And I won't go into how to do all of those things.
Right.
YouTube.
Any YouTube search will teach you how to do that. And you can also do a private window. In other words, that's a window that you can, right under file, you'll see private window, private new window, or something like that. And that's something that will, it doesn't come up in the search. But always go back and double check, because you never know. And it's just good to go back and clear that search. It's very easy to do if you don't know how to do it again. YouTube it, no problem. And that's pretty simple, right?
Yeah, and many websites that are geared towards domestic violence, ours included, will have a leave site button or exit here or some kind of button that's kind of an emergency escape. So, when you get to those sites, maybe take a moment to just recognize where that's located, just in case, in the person that you are in a relationship that may be abusing you comes into the room. You have that quick exit.
Yeah. Yeah. And, abuse comes, as you say, at many different times, in many different forms, in many different ways. And manipulation and control is definitely one of those. Last time we were together, it was about, how they might control you, even voting. I mean,
Right.
not allowing you to vote. I mean,
Right.
it just comes in so many different strange ways. So be on the lookout for that. And again, know that there's always help if you want to get out. I love the idea, and I bring this up every time because I really think it is the case, to remind everybody about how they can help the different shelters across the United States and in Canada with the Amazon piece. So walk us down that path.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's many different ways that you can support domesticshelters.org. One of which is going onto our website, go to the donate tab, and search through the wish lists on our site. So these are ones that each shelter is kind of set up. They tell you exactly which items they need, and it's as simple as a couple of clicks. You add them to your cart, you check out, and through the magic of all things Amazon, it is shipped right off to them. So it's an easy way to contribute items that will be used right away. Not just kind of things that you may have lying around the house that you might need, might not need.
Right.
It saves you the time. It saves you energy.
That's really great.
It's really easy. Yeah.
That is really cool. Here's another question, and I don't know if this is something you can answer or not. But now that children will start to be going back to school across the United States, if a teacher suspects that a child is being abused, are they held to duty to let the authorities know about it, or what is it? Yeah. What are the steps a teacher is supposed to take?
I'm not 100% certain. I would imagine that it's likely different from state to state who is a mandatory reporter.
Right.
But it is, it's a great point that teachers do have a really, unique situation where they will notice differences in child's behavior. And even now that many schools are, participating in school online, have that window into that child's home life. So it's really important that they're vigilant and follow whatever those laws may be, or whatever procedures are in place to help that child.
Right.
It's really important to just keep an eye out and understand what the signs are.
Yeah. That's a great point, especially, now learning from school, and especially if it's a first-time student for you. You don't know them really. You don't know their personality, their character, if you will. You don't have any clue who they are. And I guess it just is be better to get them back into the school sometimes, so you can actually see them, you can see the actual the way they're acting, or some of the possible visual abuse, or anyway, what I'm trying to say. I think that that was the other question I had, is what if teachers had some sort of duty to call that in.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So anything else that you'd like to add before we say goodbye this week?
No, I think it's just important for people to understand that there are resources out there to help them. Not only recognizing what abuse looks like, kind of confirming that suspicion that something is wrong, but then also people, actual human beings, people that want to help, whether that be through a local domestic violence program, or just calling the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And that number is just 1-800-799-7233, or the last letters are SAFE, SAFE. So you can reach out to them by calling or going to their website, thehotline.org, to chat online. But just know that there are resources out there. And those two places are a great place to start, because they'll know even further, what local resources are available, because there is help.
There is help. And when you're ready, and you'll know when you're ready, believe me, there are people out here that are going to do everything in their power to make sure that you get away from that situation, and they can help you even move on to what's next in your life. So Ashley Romschlag from domesticshelters.org, I'd like to thank you once again for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you guys again, I guess, in a couple of weeks when we have you back on to talk about yet another situation. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks.